Hello and welcome to Clay to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make just about everything from the ground up. And welcome to week 9 of the Don't Wake the Dragon series. Yeah, this place is a pit right now. I am like tripping over myself. I have been feeling it. The last 2.5 weeks have been pretty rough. Y'all kind of know that I had an injury and I've been hobbling along. Fortunately, last night was the first night that I got 8 hours of sleep. I think that it's probably the most sleep I've gotten in this whole 2.5 weeks combined. So I'm feeling much better today. I'm nowhere near 100%. This injury is going to be something that continues to manage. My mornings have been me needing to get up, soak, and like walk it out. It takes a couple hours before I am actually functioning enough to do anything. This is going to be another heat wave week. Not like that crazy heat wave that kept everyone indoors, but in the high 90s. And the reason why this matters is because the best hours to work out here are like early morning, like around, I don't know, 7, 8-ish until about noon. And it has taken me till now, it's just after 10 in order for me to be able enough to stand out here. Progress-wise, this is going to be something that's going to be holding me back. I did manage to get out here yesterday off camera. So today is Sunday, September 25th. Yesterday technically was part of this week 9 because I just came out here off camera, finished sanding up the clusters on the opposite sides that I needed to because I knew this heat wave was coming. They are ready to go to have the glass put on the second side. It is now after 10, and unless I do this like immediately, it's going to be problematic as far as the cure time goes. But the dilemma now is that this place is a pit and I'm tripping over myself. I need to tidy before it's even safe enough for me to be maneuvering around in here. On a good day without a freaking leg injury, I would be challenging, but because I'm still kind of hobbling around, I don't trust myself in this space to try and put stuff on those panels because of the time and the cure of the epoxy. We have to move quickly, and then I've got crap everywhere. That being said, the other thing I did do yesterday was I spent a lot of time stripping these bottles. This gave me the opportunity to kind of sit at the sink and rest my leg and get up and walk in between. I peeled all the labels off of these bottles, scraped them down. That took some time. They are ready for smashy along with my new bags, but I ordered interchangeable, I guess like removable screen that you can keep changing out, and I ordered them specifically for these bottles so that I can separate the grit. It's not worth me starting smashing things until I have the ability to separate the glass, which will make more sense on Wednesday when I talk about what the samples ended up working out to be. I need to figure out where the heck these are going to sit while I clear this table, and then back here, if you only saw back here, there's like piles of crap everywhere. My point is, I know my goal was to get this body assembled by the end of this week. But again, it's looking like the amount of sanding and labor that's going to take, it's going to be another thing that I'm pushing off. Probably not until next week. It is a bummer mentally. Mentally, not having this thing assembled is like another thing that's been wearing on me. It's very frustrating to not see a form come together right now, and I'm just staring at parts. But I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to like rush things coming together just because I'm getting frustrated and impatient. That back panel also needs to be addressed. The panel that the glass is going in, I need to sand up some areas, and I need to start cutting the rabbet. It cannot get installed with the rest of those panels unless the rabbet is put on. Oh, and I just remembered, I also realized that the Varathane stain that I use for just about everything, because it's a stain and is not a gloss, something to do with polyurethanes and glossy finishes, that the VOCs are higher. Stains can be oil based because it's literally oil and pigment. Wish I had known this before the fabric situation happened, but that's besides the point. Anyhow, it's supposed to be okay with the epoxy. So I'm gonna run a test. I need to take a piece of blank wood, smack some of that Varathane on it, and stick it out for a couple days, and probably Wednesday I'll epoxy it up when I'm epoxying a panel and see if there's any kind of funky reaction. That back panel, I really want to retain the wood grain, and so I want to apply ebony finish to the outside of that piece, probably the interior too, before it gets epoxied. This would have been a test that needed to be done before the layer of epoxy went on. I'm sure the stain color would float over the epoxy, but the magic of this stain is where it interacts with the grain and you get the varying colors where there's highlights and different tones that happen, and that would not happen if I'm applying that stain over an epoxy. I think I will shut up, throw some headphones on, clean up this joint, run my test samples, and then try tackling that panel. So I just wanted to point out that the sawdust that you see back here is regular plain sawdust. It is not my epoxy dust. Every time I've been sanding anything to do with the resin and epoxy, I've been suited up and I close the garage and I do it out on the driveway so that none of that dust gets in here. So the sawdust you see in the shop is less toxic than the other stuff. My point is that my children do not play and roll around in the silica. What you see me cleaning up, no, I do not allow my princessa to sit in a pile of silica resin dust. This is regular sawdust. You know, honestly, they make cat litter that is made out of sawdust. So I still clean it up and try to keep dust down as much as possible. When it comes to dealing with clay dust, silica, all that kind of junk, the safest way of dealing with it is to wet it down. I made the decision to move the trailer. The trailer base part needs to get hiked up under the first canopy. That way I have free space to use for assembling the dragon. Alright y'all, I am not stupid enough to try and move this alone. I'm gonna go grab Sarah, but that means that I'm going off camera because she does not like to be on film, so I'm gonna have her help me shimmy this thing up and then reset this area. It actually was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Unfortunately, while we were moving it, Sarah found a termite. That adds a ticking clock to me needing to freaking hurry up and get this at least exterior coated and dealt with. It's because this is raw wood and this is Southern California. This just in general is everything in California prone to termites. I have the exterior coating on, the bottom's pressure treated, so it's really the internal parts that are exposed, and this flooring is going to be completely coated in resin with those circles, and eventually this will be epoxied. I don't think I'm going to do that for the drawer, the carcass fronts, but maybe that's something I need to rethink. Maybe now it means that I roll a layer of epoxy, which I hadn't planned on doing, to the interior of this. If I do that, I'm going to do it during the flooring. It's not something you ordinarily do to cabinetry, but this is no ordinary build, so maybe that's just what's going to happen. This is about like 2 hours into my cleaning, and as usual, the studio is now more a mess than it was before I started. I've been doing little bits of things here and there, trying to do a deep clean. It's a new moon. I'm in this mindset of needing a reset, especially after the wear and tear on my body and the bogged down of my mind, having this anxiety of not moving fast enough. So I think this is good for me, even if this is all I end up doing for the next 2 days, is doing a full reset, getting everything ready to go. So be it. This is a much needed thing. I have all of the pieces behind me that need to go back into the trailer. I had to move them because I didn't want to risk them getting jarred. I also have things that are on trash that I've been putting on that side that need to go out. I repaired part of the dragon. I gotta tell ya, the babes have been like going nuts over wanting to sleep in this thing even when it's back here, and I am still taking measurements off of it, but I feel like it's getting thrashed over here on the floor. So I'm going to try and clean it up and I think bring it inside, and they've waited long enough. I've caught the man sleeping in it a couple times. I couldn't find him. I was freaking out, and he was like back here sleeping inside the dragon. So it's time to give it up, give it back to them. It'll also take one less thing out from over here. So I'm gonna eat something, and then I'm gonna just continue on moving stuff from one place to the other and pretending I'm tidying. Alright y'all, the studio has had somewhat of a reset. It has taken me all day to tidy and make it so that it is workable in this space. This is something that is just a regular maintenance thing and is very much so part of studio practice. It has to be done, and usually this is about the time I do a reset. I'm gonna call it for today. Yeah, I'm burnt. I need to go and chill out because I am still healing. Alright y'all, it is Monday. It is almost 11. I am having a slow start to this day. My body's still stiff. It is what it is. I also had to go on a run to get some water for the house. Why do you care about this? Because I am been buying Mountain Valley spring water that comes in green bottles so that I can use the bottles for the glass panel. I did have some ideas, some new ideas about the glass last night while I was like trying to chill out a bit. There's one other thing I want to try before I make a final decision. I still will bring home the samples tomorrow because tomorrow I'm on campus. We can have a look at them on Wednesday here on the vlog. But I think there's still not going to be a final decision with what you're going to see on Wednesday. I'm going to need to run a couple more tests. If it goes the way I think it's going to go, it's going to involve a double firing. I won't say much more because it's kind of really hard to explain without looking at the samples. But anyhow, I had to go buy more bottles. If the method ends up working, it is going to involve a little bit more glass than I had originally planned. Yesterday, after I had like gotten cleaned up and was like trying to settle in, I freaked out and went, oh crap, I never coated the sample piece. I ran back out here and coated a piece of wood in the ebony. I don't know, it says 1 hour cure and it is oil based. Let me see what it says for full cure. Blah, 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 diddy, blah. Let dry for 1 hour. Allow longer dry time for damp, humid days. Okay, so it's been overnight. So technically, it should be okay for me to coat with a layer of epoxy. So I'm gonna give this a go while I am also applying epoxy to the last grouping of clusters. I'm really hoping that today I can finish getting the full panel sheets on all of the clusters. That's my one goal today. I'll catch some of that footage on film, probably for the smaller ones because the larger ones can get a little bit tricky for me to try and navigate the camera. And honestly, that day where I just was like, all right, I'm gonna just get this done, and I did it off camera, I felt a little bit less anxiety because it's a very tricky process and I'm trying to document as much as I can, but at a certain point I was not feeling comfortable enough, plus you know the leg was bugging me. Alright, so this was a small panel, and this is the complications I run into with the heat, which is why I've been avoiding doing as much of this work as possible in the direct heat. I cut the panel was oversized to what I needed it to be, and the moment I go to fit it on, somehow it shrunk. This is just kind of how it's been going. It's just been the way. It goes really well in the morning when it's cool out and I don't have this problem. Then on top of that, even though I'm using the slow hardener, it starts to seize on me. This is what has been frustrating about this process. I did not anticipate there being so much heat. Of course, I was intending to start this entire build much sooner, sometime in, May, June, not August, September, which is when I really started. But we've had some unusual record highs. It's just been unusual. The process is going slower than I would like it to go. That's clear. We're here in week 9 and I still am only dealing with clustered pieces. I've been looking at clustered pieces for about 5 weeks now, and it's just been kind of the same clustered pieces while I'm waiting for resin to dry. The other thing is there are many more parts. This is only the body. I haven't done the foot, haven't considered the head or the tail yet. Those parts I can't even begin to address until the bulk of this body comes together. Anyhow, I have one more cluster which I'm going to complete off camera, but I'm going to finish out for today. This is it. It is way too hot to continue doing anything else other than that last cluster, and the last cluster is very small. Alright y'all, it is Tuesday night and it's 6 o'clock and it's a bit odd for me to be out here, but I am determined to get this damn thing together tomorrow. So I came out here as soon as I got home and I started cutting off all the excess bits of the glassing, and now I'm about to hit them all with a sander so that first thing tomorrow I can get out here and start assembling these parts. I will have to make brackets tomorrow, But I gotta tell you, it's nice and cool right now, and I got about an hour and a half or so before I lose light. It was a 90-degree day, so it's finally cooled off enough that this is actually a great temp to get out here and do this. So I'm gonna try and knock these out. I'm not gonna go crazy on the surface of these because they're gonna be layered up again. I'm gonna close up the garage, get fully suited up, fully minus the shoes. Sometimes I work barefoot, and I know it depends on the task. I don't do it with sharp objects, but I'm more comfortable that way. Still have socks on because of the fiberglass, but if I had my way, I would be woodworking barefoot in the grass, but it is totally not safe. Y'all, it is Wednesday and it is almost noon and I see gardeners across the street, which means it's gonna get loud in a minute. Anyhow, I just wanted to touch base. Basically, last night I sanded for a couple hours and I only got through one full panel and a half of one. This job is taking a lot longer, as usual, to sand, and as much as I try and just hit a small spot, I can't do it. I can't just do a quick glossing over. I keep finding bits to kind of sand off and have to rework. Because I have gotten such a late start today, it is noon, the heat's coming. I am going to knock out what I can and only spend about 2 hours out here doing some sanding today. I was in no mood to deal with sanding after last night, after spending hours out here and only getting one panel done. I was a little frustrated this morning. I was all gung-ho last night to get it done. It became apparent to me that it wasn't gonna happen today again. So I ran all the errands that I needed to. I had a bunch of personal things to take care of that I had planned on doing on Saturday, got my hair cut. I did them today so that I could spend the next couple nights when I come home from work doing a couple hours on the sand off camera in the hopes that Saturday I can get out here and get this thing at least partially assembled. Time has not been my friend lately. Anyhow, the glass is here and the sieve, I know it's a sieve. I like calling it a sieve because I think a sieve, just, depend sieve, sounds so much better and it sounds more like, filtering things. Sieve, the word sieve sounds like you're gonna I don't know, stab somebody. Anyway, it's here, the variable changing things, and as I got it, I realized that it's a little bit larger. The smallest one is a little bit larger than I had planned. So I have some hardware cloth that I think, let me double check. This is about the size I'm gonna want for the final pass through. I think these will be good for the first couple layers of smashing. This one will give me that retain all the medium sized stuff. And then this will give me the separation of the fine dust that gets ground up. So the plan for this is to smash all those dang bottles, pass it through the sieves. Such a boring word. I don't like the word sieve. Pass it through the sieve and various meshes to make piles of the glass. I tested out with various sizes because I sort of did this a little bit on campus with like a slotted spoon, which was ridiculous, but it got the job done in a small amount. And I was able to get a medium size, a tiny size, and then the larger size. I realized that I liked the medium size the best. I was thinking, I still don't know if I'm happy with this. I think I want a more defined circle, and the lighter glass, the smaller bits, give me a defined circle, but the color kind of washes out because the bits are so tiny. The test I'm doing right now, I made those tree molds. I filled it up with glass and I'm doing, I guess, a casting setting where I'm allowing the glass to soak and melt into itself a little bit more. I realized that the yellow and blue have a lighter temp than the green bottle because these three were all put in that same one. Finally got some good melting with the blue and the yellow, but the green glass still was a little bit too strong. So the new setting I have that's running right now, I poured glass into those trees and I'm trying a setting to see if I can get it to melt into a defined sheet. If that works, my next step is to pop that tree out, stick it on a double pane of glass, and see if I can then do a fuse setting and get it to fuse. If this technique works, I will be making circular molds. So that's what I'm testing. I'm not quite sure how that's gonna go. I'm waiting for the results. Every kiln firing takes about a day to fire and about 2 days to fully anneal and cool down enough for me to open it. This batch was the first round, and then I have a round of number 2 where I've tinkered with the kiln, tested a little bit more of the bottle glass, and then the third round was the round I was testing how far I could push the glass and to get it to fuse a little bit more, and now this new step. I don't feel like it'd be the end of the world if I ended up having to go with one of these as the final result. The medium glass has the texture of dragon skin. It's not the end of of the world. This will still work for me. What tends to happen is I'll run tests until I get a this'll totally work point, and then I will run more tests till I get a this is amazingly sweet point. And so I'm hoping to get the amazingly sweet point, but I'm happy to be at a point where I have a this will totally work for me point. Anyhow, that's the glass right now. I'm just gonna go suit up off camera, try and do a bit of sanding. Hopefully by Saturday, I will be in a less extra-frazzed mental state and ready to assemble those things. All right, y'all. It has been many days since the Wednesday that I was sanding. I did get to finish all of the sanding on the pieces, but when Saturday rolled around, honestly, this past week has been a bit crazy busy. Really fun week because my birthday was yesterday and I had a really great time, but it was just a crazy busy week, and I am also quite behind on a lot of my paperwork for school, catching up on grading. I've just kind of been going. I just wanted to close out this vlog, the week 9 vlog, which ended because I didn't get out here. Unfortunately, yes, it is another week without y'all seeing something come together. It's just another bunch of pieces. So, I'm gonna leave. There's mosquitoes everywhere. I'm exhausted. Anyhow, I'm gonna leave week 9 here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already. Stick around to watch this project unfold, and remember, don't wake the dragon.